Hi friends, it's Dr. Rachel Paul. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are going to be talking about my top 10 tips to keep the weight off forever. So we're first going to talk about foods and different ways to plan your meals, and then we're going to talk about some important mindset shifts. This is really where the magic happens. All right, let's talk about my top 10 tips to keep the weight off forever. Tip number 1 is to not cut out any food group in its entirety. So I have a funny story for you. When I was going through my weight loss journey when I was in college, we would follow what was called the General Motors diet. I believe you can still find this on the internet. And it was this crazy diet where it was, 10 days, and the first day you ate only vegetables, and then the second day you ate only fruit, and then the third day you could eat fruits and vegetables, and the fourth day was like beef and tomatoes. And it followed this just crazy restrictive diet, which lasted for us in college when we were following this, like a few hours, right? Of course, this type of way of eating is just not sustainable. Maybe you follow a crash diet and you lose a few pounds right away, but you don't learn any new habits, right? And you end up gaining the weight back. So what's much more helpful is to learn how to moderate. So moderate means including all foods and food groups in amounts that are right for your body. The best way to find which portions are right for your body is to track what you're eating. You don't have to track if you don't want to, but it can be a really helpful tool, especially in the beginning if you want to lose weight. I really like the Lose It app. You can definitely check it out. It's a free app, no affiliation. I just really like it. All right, let's talk about tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to say no to fad diets. Now here is a crazy fact. Scientifically, it's proven that people who go on crash diets, the majority of people, more than 50%, end up gaining more weight after the crash diet than they were at in the beginning. So for example, if a person weighs 200 pounds and then they went on a crash diet and maybe they lost 20 pounds, they are scientifically more likely to gain that weight back up to 200 pounds plus more, so maybe 210 pounds, okay? So these crash diets, anything that you try to include in your way of eating that is not going to work for your long-term lifestyle is just not something that you should include, right? So what I want you to do is whenever you're ready to make a change, think about that change and whether it's something you are willing to live with for the rest of your life, right? So just like in tip 1 where we talked about learning how to moderate, this again is a really good place to focus on moderation. So instead of cutting out all sweets, instead of cutting out all starchy carbohydrates, think about what portions are you going to be emotionally satisfied with for the long term. All right, let's talk about tip number 3. Tip number 3 is to keep meal prep simple. Now, I know you might see on Instagram, you might see on Pinterest, these elaborate meals which clearly take 20 plus ingredients that cost hundreds of dollars at the store to make, but that is not necessary at all. What I really like for you to do is keep your grocery shopping and your meal prep super simple. So get some non-starchy vegetables, get some proteins, get some starches, get some fats like avocado and cheese. Get the same types of foods every single week so it's not this huge production to make your grocery list every week. And then meal prep your specific foods, typically vegetables and protein sources, for the next 2 to 3 days. This way it keeps your meals really fresh. So if you can cut up some vegetables, like I have some peppers here, if you can make some proteins, again, just for the next 2 to 3 days to keep your foods fresh, like I made some salmon here. That is gonna make then actually eating these wholesome, healthy meals really easy and really satisfying. All right, let's talk about tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to keep your meal choices easy. Now, kind of similar to what we talked about in tip 3, with tip number 4, I want you to build delicious, big meals that you can feel really emotionally and physically satisfied eating, but I want you to keep them simple. Healthy eating can be simple. It does not need to take many hours to prep and make at all, okay? So for example, I have this huge salad, which I know maybe looks complex, but it only has 5 ingredients. It has the lettuce, it has the salmon, cucumbers, tomatoes, and oil, and that's it. okay? So your meals can be big, they can be satisfying, but keep them easy. You will be thankful for it. All right, let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 5 is to learn the hunger scale. Now, I used to be afraid of hunger when I was going through my weight loss journey because I felt that hunger meant I wasn't going to be able to eat. But I have really good news for you. If you are physically hungry, you are 100% allowed to eat. A little bit of hunger is actually healthy. It means your body is working. So let's talk about the hunger scale. The hunger scale goes from 1 to 10, where 1 is starving and 10 is super full. We want to stay in the 3 to 7 range. It just really doesn't feel good, right? To get over to the 1 where you're so starving. We can't make good food decisions when we're super starving, right? Also, it doesn't feel good to get to the 10. You feel too stuffed, you feel really uncomfortable, right? So we want to stay in the 3 to 7 range. All right, let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 6 is to use data to help. Now, I recently had a client who felt that she wasn't losing weight and was kind of upset about it, but the truth was she didn't have any data to support this feeling of not losing weight because she didn't want to weigh herself. Now, here's the good news here. You don't have to use the scale if you don't want to, but it is really important to have some kind of measure of success because otherwise we just have no idea whether or not we are successful, right? So there's a number of options here. You can, of course, use the scale, and the scale can be a great objective measure of success if you want to use it, right? Now, if you want to use the scale, I recommend doing it first thing in the morning with the same clothes on or no clothes on so that you can be consistent. I either recommend doing it every single day so it really takes the pressure off of any one day of getting on the scale. You just naturally see that weight loss is not this straight line down, it's this bumpy road, and that's how it's supposed to be. If you weigh yourself every day, getting on the scale any one time is just not a big deal. Alternatively, you can do something like Mondays and Thursdays. I like Mondays because it keeps us accountable over the weekend, right? But I also like Thursdays because Friday is too close to Monday, I feel, but Thursday is just enough time so we can get 2 data points throughout the week. So that's the scale. Some other measures of success, you can do how an item of clothing is fitting, so a skirt or a pair of pants or a dress, that type of thing. You can also do how confident you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. This is actually my favorite method of success because really at the end of the day, all that matters is that you are feeling happy and confident, right? So you can try that on for a measure of success and see if that works for you. I definitely recommend also something a little more objective like the scale or an item of clothing, just as an extra measure. All right, let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 7 is to practice mindful eating. Now, I did an Instagram story a few weeks ago that I got a huge reaction to, where I said I ate half of an ice cream sandwich and then I put the other half of the ice cream sandwich in the freezer for another time because I really just wanted half of an ice cream sandwich. And I got a lot of people saying to me like, oh my gosh, you're so crazy. How could you eat only a half of an ice cream sandwich? Just eat the rest of it. You only live once, that type of thing. But here's the truth. You get to decide what portions are right for your body. So if you are emotionally satisfied and physically satisfied on half of an ice cream sandwich or any other dessert or any other food, if the portion that you are satisfied with, if that's true for you, that's all that matters, right? You know your body best. And what I want you to do is prioritize how your body feels above all else, above portions that a company says is the right portion for that food. You ultimately are the one that gets to decide what portions are right for your body. So in terms of being mindful, understand that no food is not allowed. You can eat any food at any other time. It's not just this one time where you're allowed to eat this food and you'll never be able to eat that again. Remember, every food is able to be in your plan when it will be both physically and emotionally satisfying for you to eat it. All right, let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 8 is to stop the perfectionist mindset. Now, we just talked about this in Best Body, which is my group coaching program. The perfectionist mindset gives you two options, right? Option number 1 is that you can eat chicken and broccoli at home that's bland and be miserable. Or option 2 is that you can go out with your friends, have tacos and margaritas, and love your life. It just gives you these two options in your mind if you have the perfectionist mindset. But what's really true is that we do not have just these two options. There are so many options in the gray here, right? We could invite our friends over for tacos and margaritas and be more in control of the options, right? We could go to tacos and margaritas and just plan for exactly what we want to eat during that time that's going to be both emotionally and physically satisfying. And that's another good option, right? So there's two additional options that are so much better than the bland broccoli and chicken at home or eating the tacos and margaritas, getting way off plan and being unhappy. There are so many options in the middle. So what we really have to do is stop that perfectionist mindset, embrace that there are so many gray options that are going to work in your plan, and move on. All right, let's talk about tip number 9. Tip number 9 is to prioritize sleep and exercise to feel good. Now, here's the issue with sleep. When we are tired, our bodies can't tell the difference between hunger in order to stay awake versus actual hunger. So we just naturally end up overeating and we don't even realize it, which is such a bummer, right? So what I want you to do is make sure you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. That way you can make really good food decisions that you feel good about the entire day, right? Now, in terms of exercise is actually not important for weight loss, but it is so good for our total health, right? It helps us sleep, which we just talked about. It helps us get those endorphins. We feel good when we exercise. So it is important to do it. What I want you to do is to choose a type of exercise that you feel good doing. So whether that is taking a walk, whether that's doing a 15-minute dance class on YouTube, you can find something that you feel really good doing, all right? Let's talk about tip number 10. Tip number 10 is to find a supportive community. Now, I know, especially online right now, it can be very confusing to decide whether or not weight loss is right for you. But I am here to tell you, if you want to come at weight loss from a really healthy, self-love place, then you can absolutely do that. In our Best Body community, we have over 8,000 members who cheer each other on. It's just such an incredible community of supportive women that I would love for you to join. So the link is in my bio and you can check it out. And again, I would love for you to be our next member. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching my top 10 tips on how to keep the weight off forever. What I'd love for you to do is hit the like button, comment, and then subscribe and hit the bell button so you're notified of the next video. And I can't wait to see you next time.